Hello and welcome to the Cloud Academy Lab. Create your first Amazon EC2 instance for Windows. Let's get started. The first step is to log into the Amazon Web Services console. As you can see here, I've been supplied with a username and password to use. I'm going to copy this password. I'm going to open the AWS console. You'll see the account number has been auto-populated. I'll type student, paste in my password, and sign in. The next thing I need to do is to check and make sure that I am logged into the correct AWS region, in this case, US West Oregon. I can confirm that that is the case right here. Next, I'll begin to create a new Windows EC2 instance. I'll have to make some configuration choices along the way, and finally create an encryption key pair for authentication. First, I select the EC2 service from the console dashboard. Next, I select the Launch Instance button. I've been instructed to select this Microsoft Windows Server 2012 image. I'll leave this at its default. Also leave these configuration settings at their defaults. Click Next, Add Storage. And finally Review and Launch. Here I can see that the security group that's associated with my instance is going to allow me to connect to it with the RDP protocol on port 3389. Click Launch. Now I need to create a new key pair. Finally, launch instances. I can navigate back to View Instances and see my new instance is in a pending state. After a few minutes, once the virtual machine instance is running, we can move on to the next step. Next, I need to retrieve the administrator password for my Windows instance. The administrator password is encrypted by Amazon EC2 using the key pair that we created in the previous step. I'm going to right-click on my instance and select Get Windows Password. At this point, I need to choose the key pair file that I previously created and downloaded, testkeys2 in this case, and then decrypt my Windows password. We can see here the username administrator and the password is right here. Let's copy this and save it for the next step. The next step is to connect to the console of the Windows virtual machine itself using the remote desktop protocol. I'll create a remote desktop connection to the IP address of my Windows virtual machine, log in as the administrator, and at that point I'll be able to see the Windows desktop. Now I need to use the remote desktop client to log into my virtual machine. I can get the public IP address of my machine from the Amazon console. Type that in and click Connect. Now I need to log in as administrator using the password I previously copied. I can make sure that this is the Windows machine I expect. And now I'm on the desktop. You can now interact with this Windows virtual machine in all the typical ways you might expect from the Windows desktop. One of the particular things about an Amazon EC2 instance is that the instance has access to unique configuration information about itself through a link local IP address. You can access with a web browser, but also automated configuration scripts can access this information, which can be very helpful during startup. We can use a web browser to test out some of these capabilities. I'm going to copy these sample commands over to Notepad on my remote desktop. Now from a remote desktop, I can paste in these URLs. For example, this is the security group of which our virtual machine is a member. This is the AMI ID from which this particular virtual machine was born. Here's the host name of this machine, etc. Now that I'm done with this instance, I can terminate it and save a little bit of money. Right-clicking on the instance in the management console, instance state, terminate, confirm, and we are all done. You'll see it go through a few phases, shutting down, and then eventually it will show up as terminated.